Bigger is better, right? Well, at least that's what Airbus thought when they designed this absolute monster of a plane, the Airbus A380. It was meant to revolutionize commercial aviation, redefine luxury in the skies, and dominate long-haul travel for decades. But instead, it became one of the most ambitious yet catastrophic failures in aviation history. Imagine spending $25 billion on a project only for airlines to say, "Nah, we're good. Painful, right?" Well, that's exactly what happened. Welcome back to B7 Pilot, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of aviation. Today, we unravel the story of how Airbus went all in on an idea so bold that it shook the industry, only to watch it slowly crash and burn, financially of course. In this video, we'll explore the A380's rise, the overwhelming hype, the harsh realities that led to its downfall, and why even Airbus had to accept defeat. And of course, we'll compare it to its biggest rival, the Boeing 747, to see who truly stood the test of time. Before we take off, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and your support helps keep this channel flying high. The rise of the A380, Airbus's biggest gamble. The 1990s and early 2000s were a golden era for aviation. Air travel was booming, passenger numbers were skyrocketing, and major international hubs were getting increasingly congested. The industry was in desperate need of a solution to move more passengers with fewer flights. And Airbus, wanting to challenge Boeing's legendary 747, saw this as their golden opportunity. Because obviously, when things get expensive, the best solution is to make them even more expensive, right? So Airbus went all in on a concept that would redefine commercial air travel, the world's first full-length double-deck aircraft. The A380 wasn't just about size, it was about unmatched luxury, superior comfort, and cutting-edge technology. With a capacity of over 850 passengers in an all-economy setup, it promised to be the most efficient way to transport masses of people across long distances. But what really set it apart was the passenger experience. First-class suites with privacy doors, onboard showers, bar lounges at 40,000 feet, and unparalleled cabin space made it feel more like a luxury cruise ship in the sky rather than an airplane. The A380 was the dream machine of every frequent flyer. But the thing about dreams, they don't always match reality. The high expectations versus the brutal reality. On paper, the A380 seemed like an absolute game-changer. Airbus was convinced that airlines would flock to buy it, and for a while it looked like they were right. Major carriers like Emirates, Singapore Airlines and Lufthansa were among the first to place huge orders. But soon, cracks started to appear in Airbus's master plan. See, airlines don't just chase luxury, they chase profits. And the A380, for all its grandeur, was a logistical and financial nightmare. It was extremely expensive to operate, requiring enormous amounts of fuel, extra crew, and specialized airport infrastructure. And the worst part, airlines struggled to fill all those seats. By the early 2010s, aviation trends were shifting. Instead of massive four-engine jumbos, airlines were moving towards fuel-efficient, long-range twin-engine aircraft like the Boeing 787 Dreamliner and Airbus's own A350. These planes could fly just as far but at a fraction of the cost, making the A380 look like an outdated relic in a modern world. Basically, the A380 was like a grand palace that nobody could afford to live in. Who actually bought the A380s? Now, despite its flaws, some airlines did believe in the A380, and leading the pack was Emirates. This airline alone bought a staggering 123 A380s, more than half of all units ever built. Why? Because their hub in Dubai was the perfect place for such an aircraft. With a global network built around high-capacity long-haul routes, Emirates could actually make the A380 work. But for most other airlines, the A380 was just too much of a headache. American carriers completely ignored it. British Airways and Qantas tried using it, but even they struggled to justify its costs. Singapore Airlines, one of its earliest adopters, started retiring them after just 10 years of service. Imagine buying a $450 million plane only to park it in the desert a decade later. That's like buying a Ferrari and realizing you can't afford the insurance. The slow death of the A380, a giant that faded too soon. By 2019, it was clear the Airbus A380 was living on borrowed time. After years of struggling to sell more of these massive jets, Airbus officially pulled the plug on production. The world's largest passenger aircraft, once hailed as the future of long-haul travel, was now a relic of the past. But why did it come to this? What went so horribly wrong that airlines who once celebrated the A380 were now desperate to get rid of it? Airlines jumping ship. Why no one wanted the A380 anymore? When the A380 first hit the skies, airlines were excited. They imagined luxurious double-deck cabins, first-class suites, and record-breaking passenger numbers. But by the 2010s, airline priorities had shifted. Fuel efficiency became the #1 concern, and the A380 was simply too thirsty for the modern airline industry. Think about this. A Boeing 787 or Airbus A350 can fly similar long-haul routes at half the cost of an A380. And they don't require airports to redesign their infrastructure just to accommodate them. Wouldn't you rather have a plane that burns less fuel, needs fewer passengers to break even, and can land at almost any major airport in the world? Airlines certainly did. One by one, major carriers started backing away. Lufthansa, Air France, and even Qatar Airways, which once praised the A380, decided to retire their fleets early. Even Singapore Airlines, the very first airline to fly the A380, started phasing them out and even sent some straight to the scrapyard. And they weren't even that old. The pandemic, the final nail in the coffin. Then came 2020, and the COVID-19 pandemic hit the airline industry like a meteor. With travel demand crashing to historic lows, airlines had to make brutal cost-cutting decisions. Which aircraft got retired first, the biggest and most expensive ones? Almost overnight, the A380 fleets were grounded. Airlines saw no point in keeping such a costly aircraft when they could run flights with smaller, more fuel-efficient planes. Some airlines, like Air France, even permanently retired their entire A380 fleets during the pandemic. Can you imagine an aircraft that was supposed to last decades getting scrapped within just a few years? That's exactly what happened. And here's the crazy part. Boeing 747s from the 1990s are still flying today, while A380s that were barely a decade old were already being dismantled for parts. Was the A380 a mistake? This raises the big question. Was the A380 Airbus's greatest failure? Should Airbus have seen this coming? Twin-engine jets were already proving themselves to be the future. Could they have made a smaller, more efficient version of the A380 instead? Did they overestimate the market? Maybe airlines were never going to buy hundreds of these in the first place. At this point, Airbus probably realized they had built the world's biggest financial mistake. But what do you think? Should Airbus have never built the A380, or was it just ahead of its time? Could a modernized version work in today's market? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if you've enjoyed this breakdown of the A380's slow demise, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and help us reach 1,000 subs. Your support means everything, and I can't wait to bring you more aviation content. A 380 versus Boeing 747, the ultimate battle. Now let's talk about the A380's ultimate rival, the Boeing 747, the original jumbo jet, the true queen of the skies. While Airbus was busy creating an aircraft that was too big to succeed, Boeing took a different approach. Instead of going bigger, they went smarter, improving the 747 with the more fuel-efficient 747-8, while also focusing on the rise of twin-engine aircraft. So who won? The 747, without question. It outlived the A380, proved its versatility, and secured its legacy as one of the greatest aircraft ever built. Meanwhile, Airbus was left wondering why they ever thought this was a good idea in the first place. Final thoughts: a dream too big for reality. So, was the A380 a failure? The answer is yes and no. From an engineering standpoint, it was a masterpiece. It provided passengers with an unmatched flying experience and pushed the boundaries of aircraft design. But as a business venture, it flopped hard. Airbus placed a risky bet on a future that never arrived, and by the time they realized it, it was too late. Imagine being so desperate to beat Boeing that you end up making one of the most expensive mistakes in aviation history. So there you have it. The story of how Airbus dreamed big, built the world's largest passenger plane, and then watched as the industry moved on without it. The A380 was an engineering marvel, a flying palace in the sky. But in the brutal world of airline economics, it was simply too expensive, too inefficient, and too much of a gamble to survive. While some airlines like Emirates made it work, most found it to be an overambitious mistake that couldn't keep up with the rise of fuel-efficient twin-engine jets like the Boeing 787 and A350. And when we compare it to the legendary Boeing 747, there's no debate. The Queen of the Skies reigned supreme, while the A380 faded into retirement far sooner than expected. But what do you think? Was the A380 ahead of its time, or was it doomed from the start? Let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's hit 1,000 subs together. Your support keeps this channel flying high, and I can't wait to bring you more incredible aviation content. Until next time, keep your seatbelts fastened, your tray tables up, and as always, keep flying high.
You're clear to turn left to heading 200, 319. West 200, keep in mind. 330, take off 350. Okay, 330, you're clear to join up the 350. Falcon is ready for break, are you ready guys? 330 ready, 319, 220. Stand break. 3, 2, 1. Stop. 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 Stop.